Hillside Memorial Park and Mortuary presents its annual Kever Avot ceremony, literally Grave of the Fathers, Kever Avot, the practice of visiting the graves of parents and close relatives, either to pray for the souls of the departed or to pray to God to help the living for the deeds of the departed. Service led by Rabbi John Rossoff and Chazan Danny Messing of Temple Israel of Hollywood. Kever Avot ceremony made possible by Hillside Memorial Park and Mortuary.
My name is Paul Goldstein. I'm the general manager here at Hillside Memorial Park. And on behalf of our entire staff, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Kever Avot service. We are grateful to have the opportunity to provide such a meaningful service to the community and appreciate you all joining us today. As we know, this time of year is very busy for our clergy, so I'd like to thank them for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us. We truly appreciate their presence here today.
Each of us is here to remember, to recall our loved ones who have preceded us to the grave. The Hasidim of Kotsk used to recount paradoxical statements to describe the reality of theirs and our lives. They said, there's nothing straighter than a bent ladder. There's nothing blacker than white shrouds. And there's nothing more whole than a broken heart. The Alter Rebbe, Rebbe Shneur Zalman of Liadi, reminded his Hasidim that God wants us to be whole, that the Holy One does not inhabit a blemished sight. This too may appear to us as a paradox, but the Alter Rebbe taught that God inhabits a broken heart, which in truth makes the heart whole, whereas an unbroken heart is lacking in its very essence. Or as Leonard Cohen put it, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki miyemini balemut lachen samach libi meyagel kevodi af besari ishkon lavetach af besari ishkon
Shana Tova to everyone, a year of blessings of health and happiness to you all and comfort. I'm in the middle of page 6. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side. I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift.
Adonai, Madam, Vaterehu, Bene Nosh, Vater Chasfeu.
On page 10 and 11, please read responsively with me. O Sovereign One, you have been our refuge in all generations. Before the mountains were born, for 1,000 years in your sight are but a yesterday when it is past, or as a watch in the night. You sweep us away. The number of our years may be many or few, yet vain toil fills their span, for it is soon ended and we fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may grow wise in heart. Let your servants understand your ways. Let the beauty of our eternal God be with us, and may our work have lasting value. O God, author of life and death, our wisdom is small, our vision short. One by one, our companions and dear ones passing along the road of life disappear from our view. We know that each of us will walk in the same path to the doorway of the grave. We strain to see beyond the gate, but all is darkness to our mortal sight. You have created us in your image and enabled us to share in your enduring righteousness. You have placed eternity into our hearts, have implanted within our souls a vision of eternal life. Into your hands we commit the spirits of our dear ones, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity.
Yes, I know. Adonai, השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמרך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה מעתה ועד
O God of life, bless the memories we cherish. On this day, may the sorrows we know and have known be softened by our sense of your infinite wisdom, by your unending love. May the pains of our bereavement grow. Let them be. To our dear ones who have died, and tenderness to those
Adonai, roi lo echsar, binoteshe yarbitzeni, almei menuchot, yenaleni, Adonai, roi lo echsar, binoteshe yarbitzeni, nafshi. נפשי ישובב ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו, במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך מגי צר מוות, לא יירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, לא יירא רע, לא יירא רע. שבטך ומשענתך המה, המה, המה ינחמני. תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי, גישת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. For centuries, Jewish sages and poets sought through story and legend to understand the meaning of death and the transition through which our souls pass when our appointed time arrives. Many stories and legends, in particular, have been written about the greatest of all Jewish leaders, Moses, who influenced the history of the world as no other human being before or since has ever done. In the book of Deuteronomy, it's written that God speaks to Moses and tells him, "The time is drawing near for you to die. Call Joshua, your successor, and present yourselves in the tent of meeting, that I might instruct him." What did Moses feel then at 120? Now a sign of blessing, especially because Moses hadn't fulfilled the most cherished of his dreams, to enter the promised land. The midrash that developed around Moses' death are stories of great sadness and beauty, and touching especially now at this hour of memorial. What follows is my effort to synthesize these tales and legends into a single portrait of a man at the end of his life, as he confronted what each of us will one day confront ourselves. Our sages left us a model of struggle and acceptance, of hope and of faith. When the time came for Moses to die, he refused to accept God's decree. Moses put on sackcloth, threw himself upon the ashes, and prayed not less than 1,500 prayers for the annulment of the sentence against him. He drew a circle around himself, stood in the center of it, and said, "I will not move from this spot until judgment shall have been suspended." A pity. The great Moses, the righteous one who led his people from slavery, the only human ever to come face to face with God, the lawgiver, the leader of the nation, didn't understand the meaning of his mortality. Moses' accomplishments were many. He had molded the people of Israel into a nation. He was the most powerful of Israel's leaders. He hardened his people into an army before whom the most warlike tribes quailed and walled cities collapsed. Moses was not only revered and loved by all humankind, he was loved by the angels, his spiritual peers. Knowing that Torah would say of him that there has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, he strove to refuse his Creator's will. Fearing the Almighty's wrath, heaven and earth trembled and said, "It must be God's wish to destroy this world and create a new universe, because Moses persists in refusing his fate." But all were comforted as a quiet and gentle voice called from heaven, saying, "God's wish to destroy the world has not yet come. Moses will certainly die." But Moses didn't hear. He continued to plead with God, but God refused to move from the decree which had already been sealed. God tried to explain, "Moses, my dearest friend, shepherd of Israel, you must die, for otherwise your people will turn you into an idol. There is but one God, it is I. You cannot attain immortality, for you are human and lower than the angels." Moses pleaded, "God, don't you trust me? Have I not proved my worth? Have I not destroyed the golden calf? God reasoned with Moses and asked, Moses, who are you? The son of Amram? Who is Amram? The son of Yitzhar, and Yitzhar, the son of Kehat, and Kehat, who is he? The son of Levi, and Levi, the son of Jacob, the son of Isaac, the son of Abraham, and so on until they reached the first humans, Adam and Eve. Where are Adam and Eve? God asked. Dead. And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the matriarchs too? Dead, said Moses, all dead. Yes, said God, your ancestors are all dead, and you alone wish to live forever? But this wasn't enough for Moses. He persisted. Each of my ancestors sinned. From Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, and Rebekah there came children who were not of your people. Adam and Eve stole and violated your commandments. My children are your people, and I have not defied you. God answered, you killed an Egyptian. Who told you to do that? Moses answered with insolence, yes, I killed one Egyptian, and you? Did you not kill all the firstborn? God wasn't moved. Moses turned to appeal on his behalf, hoping to forestall his death through their prayer. He approached heaven and earth, the sun and the moon, the stars, planets, mountains, rivers, hills, and sea, but none would pray for him. They responded alike, saying, all go into one place. All are of the dust and turn to the dust again. Moses felt utterly alone, without help or sympathy. He couldn't understand how he, the greatest of all people, could be refused. He bargained with God, much as does a child who's rebuked a first time and settles in to try again. Let me live like an animal and eat the grass of the field so that I may live and be able to see the land of my dreams, the promised land which you pledged to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. God reminded Moses that humans were not meant to be animals. A person can never be relieved of mind and conscience. God wouldn't permit Moses to humiliate himself. Moses' passion for life was overwhelming. Perhaps because of this, we should be troubled. Why should Moses be so unreasonable at the inevitable? And this from a man of such wisdom and understanding. Yet, can we blame him? We rationalize death as part of the life process, but when it stares us in the face, we resist, failing to accept that to be human means that we're vulnerable and flawed. Only the spirit is pure and lives forever. The body withers and dies like the grass of the field. Moses resisted accepting that one day he must return to the dust. We shouldn't be too critical, for after all, this was the first time Moses had ever faced death. Eventually, he understood. It was God who reminded him that at Sinai, the Eternal One gave Moses, after the golden calf, a choice, that the Almighty would destroy the entire people and make Moses great, the father of a new people. But Moses rejected that choice, wanting to save the innocent. God offered that choice to Moses yet again. God said, Moses, I've registered 2 vows, one that you are to die and the second that Israel is to perish. I can't cancel both vows. If therefore you choose to live, Israel must be ruined. Moses complimented God on his artful approach. At last, Moses understood that he held the choice between his life and the life of his people. His absolute loyalty to the people was the reason God chose him to be his most treasured prophet. And the people would also come to understand that if such a man as Moses, who spoke panim el panim, face to face with God, and to whom God entrusted the teaching of Torah, the ordering of society, and the shepherding of his people, if he couldn't justify himself before God, how much less so would an ordinary human being who hadn't studied Torah nor done righteous deeds justify him or herself before God? When Moses at last seemed to accept what was to be, he prepared to pass the scepter of leadership on to his successor, Joshua. Moses' struggle, however, didn't end, proving the point that as long as we live, we yearn to remain alive. Moses was no different. His desire to prolong his days to see the promised land was so overwhelming that he was willing again to be transformed into an animal or a bird. He even pleaded with God to have his bones transported across the Jordan or his body cut up and have the limbs taken to Canaan. God's response was as it had been. This time, however, God became angry at Moses' refusal to accept his fate and decided to teach him a lesson. God had Moses enter his disciple Joshua's tent and bow for the first time before the new leader. One humiliation was added upon another. Joshua didn't even notice Moses as he stood before him. When Joshua completed his discourse, Moses found that he hadn't understood a word, thought, or nuance. His despair was now complete, and he wished to die as he thought, 1,000 deaths rather than one jealous moment. From this, we learn that there can be no future if we live forever. Such as our world is, the future only happens if the present eventually becomes the past. The story of Moses' last moments of life is one of hope, faith, and beauty. As Moses wandered into the wilderness to die, God instructed him to lie down, cross his arms over his chest, and to close his eyes. Then the Eternal's lips rested upon Moses' lips, and Moses' soul found shelter in God's breath and was swept away into eternity. For us, the living, it's now only memory which bridges the chasm between our lives and those who have preceded us to the grave. But like Moses, whose words and deeds are remembered, so too are each of our dear ones remembered, as we too will be remembered one day.